So there's this famous story of John Kavanaugh, famous ethicist, going to spend time with Mother Teresa in Calcutta. And he asks her to pray for him. And she says, well, what would you like me to pray for? And he says, I would love for you to pray for clarity. And Mother Teresa famously responds and says, no, I will not pray for that. And he was confused and he said, well, why not? And she said, well, clarity is the last thing that you're holding on to that you need to let go of. He was kind of confused by this. And he's like, well, I don't understand. You seem like someone with such clarity. And she says these beautiful words, I've never had clarity, but I've always had trust. And I wonder for those of us who are followers of God and who are aiming after him with everything we have in our lives, if we've maybe found that sometimes instead of pursuing God himself, we pursue clarity. Now, I want to be clear about this because clarity is not inherently a bad thing, but I wonder if sometimes we've simply gotten our focus on the wrong thing. Let me explain what I mean by that. We often think of the verse Jeremiah 29:11 as a verse we want to stitch on a pillow, say at a graduation. It's an incredible verse and a promise that God gives to the people of Israel, where it talks about, for I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord. Now, let me just stop there. He knows the plans that he has for them. And he goes on to say plans to prosper you and to give you hope and a future and all those things. But notice that he doesn't tell them the plans. He doesn't directly tell them all of the things that are going to happen to them, but he knows the plans. And we often find such comfort and hope in that verse, but I've found that recently I'm finding more comfort in the verses that follow. It says in verse 12, then you will call on me and come and pray to me, and I will listen to you. You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all of your heart. I wonder for those of us who are maybe in a season of life where we find ourselves either feeling like we're lacking direction or clarity or knowing what our next move is, have we found ourselves wanting to pursue clarity of the plans versus exercising the muscle of discernment of actually pursuing God himself? Because we can make our pros and cons lists and those things are not bad, but I find that when we're in the midst of trying to make a decision that we don't exercise what is the muscle of discernment, because sometimes the obvious choice isn't always the obedient one. The one that makes the most logical sense isn't always what God is asking us to step into. But I wonder if maybe he's inviting us into something deeper, saying that instead of just pursuing what feels like the obvious choice, would you pursue me? Would you know my voice? Would you pursue my presence above all else? Because that's the promise there, that when we seek him with all of our heart, he promises to be found by us. And so, friend, are you pursuing just clarity for clarity's sake, or are you pursuing God himself? Because as our clarity often rises, our reason to trust can diminish. And so would you pursue God, his voice, and his presence above all else? Because I can guarantee you that it's better than knowing the plans.